IPO market seeing a sharp slowdown over the last 2 years. But will the IPO market finally start to thaw out in the new year? Let's ask Rick Heitzmann now of FirstMark Capital. Welcome back.
Thanks.
I mean, we've had a tiny bit of a thaw, but you still got some big chunks of ice in that market.
Ice. There was more of a couple drops that happened in September. But as we talked about, 21 was a great year, over 100 tech IPOs. 22 and 23 were generally terrible, except those couple drops that came in September of Klaviyo, Instacart, and ARM. And then I think the door is going to start slowly opening in the beginning of 24. But, as we've talked about before, the party was that big, it's going to take a while to heal.
How much longer do you think it will take until you get back to what you and your colleagues in the field would suggest is normalcy?
It's probably another year to 18 months.
That long?
So I think, beginning of next year, you're probably going to see some smaller companies. They're not going to be the Stripes of the world. It'll be more of a StubHub, more of a SeatGeek, more of a Turo that have approachable business models, have good growth, have profitability, aren't going to do $1 billion financing, but are going to be a couple $1 billion or several $1 billion public companies that have been private for too long and just want to get out.
How do you assess what's happening with the AI arms race at this point? We've visited with you, maybe it's been once a quarter-ish,
Yep.
Something around that. And now here we are, it's the end of the year, and we're still talking about it in the same way we were at the beginning of the year when Microsoft sort of exploded this whole thing.
Yep.
And now we just had, Alphabet with Gemini,
Yeah.
and AMD with a new chip, and you've got a couple of battle royals between AMD and NVIDIA and Alphabet and Microsoft. How does somebody like you assess that?
Well, we knew the hype was coming. We felt that pressure coming, and with ChatGPT even this time last year. And this year has really been a year about promise. And now they have to deliver next year. So I think more than other mega trends, we've seen the biggest companies jump on the trend earlier and more aggressively. So doing things like building factories for chips, buying up as much GPU as they could find, over-promising their customers on the consumer or enterprise what this is going to do. And now you're setting up as next year as a year they really have to deliver.
Well, I was going to ask you, that sounds interesting, because do they have the ability to deliver that soon? Or are we assuming that all of these companies are going to be able to monetize what is such a new and transformational technology that's going to just take much longer? We're going to have to be patient. Multiples in these stocks don't necessarily suggest patience.
No, I mean, it's been a little bit too much too soon. The promise was that big. I think a lot of those companies will disappoint, because you're going to have to look at real return on investment, real companies buying the products and being pleased with them. And as all product market cycles, some of those products will be great and overperform. Some of those products will underperform, and I think you're going to see a really choppy market around this hype next year, as just announcing a chip isn't going to be enough to move billions of dollars of market.
What do you think is next year's hype? What area do we need to pay more attention to? Is it these weight loss drugs have had a captivating impact, much the way AI has? Now, some of the stocks haven't done quite as well, but nonetheless, it's been this transformational trend that investors are trying to wrap their arms around, see how to take the most advantage of. How are you thinking about that?
I still think it's early. Differently from AI, those drugs work, right? So they've been proven to work and provide incredible health benefits. So the promise seems to be coming to pass. There's still a shortage of almost all those drugs. You have seen a lot of value creation in Nova as well as Lilly this year. And so you've seen some of that value creation, but I think you're going to see the ongoing ripple effects with companies like Roe or delivery mechanisms for that GLP-1 next trend in 24.
Is there another hot area you got your eye on that not enough people are talking about?
I think there's a couple places, one being financial technologies. A lot of the underpinning of the financial system, whether it's credit cards or whether it's enterprise banking, is getting thrown up in the air. That was accelerated by the fall of the regional banks and the SVB crisis, as people are rethinking about their banking relationships, and emerging companies are taking advantage of that. And we've done a lot of things this year on the infrastructure fintech side that planting seeds that will hopefully start to bloom next year.
Interesting.